I think the principle of effective service that applied to me most, as I've had with all three of my Cardinal Quarters, was definitely just humility. I was in meetings with tenants a lot, and it's really easy to go in both as an employee and as somebody from an institution of higher learning, to go into those spaces kind of with a sense of moral superiority, or like you have answers or something like that. And just every time I showed up in one of those spaces this summer, I was intentional about trying not to go in like that, but it still just is always a constant reminder that there are so many different forms of knowledge and of operating in the world, and just because you think that yours is good doesn't mean that there aren't other good ones too. And so just remembering that.
Yeah, I think definitely always kind of thinking along the same lines of the PEs of like kind of when you're an outsider, it's so, and especially as a Stanford student where I might have so much like academic, I've done readings about what rural communities look like or what education foundations in rural communities look like, but that's not necessarily exactly what the situation is going to be. So I think humility was a big one for me every day, and questioning like of the things I valued that weren't valued necessarily in this place, how do I not judge them for that? And I think it required me to like push a lot of stereotypes that I have about especially like white people in the South, religion in the South, challenge this like myth of public schools failing and like what that truly is, due to, and whether, I don't know, like just pushing back on all these sort of stereotypes that I have from in academic, and like looking more holistically at a community and noticing for every, maybe thing that I wouldn't do the same, what's something that I appreciate, or how can you find the good in that instead of constantly comparing where I'm at to what I believe to be best. How do I just look at where I'm at and think about it and why it's that way?
I think accountability was pretty important in my experience, just because I was sort of responsible for checking in with my supervisor and sort of making sure that my projects were on time. And then of course, like working for a nonprofit, there were sort of like real implications of those projects. So I was sort of accountable for making sure that I was getting the work that needed to get done.
Of course. So I think humility came into play most often, especially when I was talking to my supervisor about getting more work. I was very aware that I had to approach the situation in a very humble manner, because I didn't want it to seem like I know everything, because I don't. I also think that safety and well-being played an important factor, because I had to understand the way that engaging in this conversation might have affected my work and the way that the office perceived me. And then in terms of reflection and evaluation, I met with my supervisor about once every 2 weeks to talk about what she saw that I could improve on, or what places I might be more fitted towards. So I think I was constantly evaluating the work that I was doing so that I could be better and so that I could be more useful to the office.